Well, welcome everyone. We're having a fun pre-conversation about the difference in generations. And I was talking about that I have Zers, and then we were talking about like my Gen Zers, how they separate themselves from Gen Alpha. And so it's fun to hear about it because I remember, being at conferences years ago and just talking about millennials. That was like the big conversation. Everybody should hire millennials. And now it's like, well, we're so past that. Now
They're
we're
kind
having
of
a conversation
wired. I
about,
want to know why they got a special name. Well, I guess the boomers did too. So the boomers
yeah.
would have
Yeah,
been Gen, they would have been Gen, what's before X? W? The Gen
I
W?
I I think at this point we're starting to date ourselves.
Whatever. All good things need seasoning. Well, I think that's also kind of a fun place to jump into this Appy Hour conversation. So, welcome everyone to the Appy Hour. We are
Welcome.
again talking about accounting AI technology, and we have a showcase. And so today's episode is part of that showcase where we're going to be talking about AI, how we implement it, and we're even going to be talking about a little bit of the fear of it. So I think that there's a human component that we all are aware of. And so sometimes you just need to talk about it in order to get some of the feelings out there so that way you can move past it and start adopting it.
That's right.
But enabling AI with zero disruption. So that's today's episode title. And we've got Accountero with us today. So you're going to get to see and hear about Accountero. And I would even imagine most of you, this is a new name that you haven't heard of yet. So you're in for a true treat.
Yes, absolutely. And absolutely.
And then Heather, do you want to introduce yourself? Give a brief
I
intro.
will introduce myself. My name is Heather Satterley. I think I know most of you by now, but I am a CPA and an accounting technology uh, aficionado. And I love all things that make our lives as accounting professionals easier. I'm also the director of education and media over at Woodard. So I am busy, busy, busy getting ready for Scaling New Heights. Yeah, so that's me and really happy to see everybody. So, and
Well, of course, I'm always happy to see you, and sometimes your cats that sneak across the screen.
they do, yes.
And my name is Liz Scott, and I enjoy technology. Heather and I, for years, have implemented, automated, shared what we're doing. And so that's the same thing that we're doing in this AI space. There's a whole lot of new, and we're just talking about like what all is available to us. I've been implementing in my firm for the last almost 2 years now, different AI solutions, giving feedback on how they're working, peeling it off, trying something different. And it's been very entertaining. So lots of new things to consider. And I come from this place of I think accountants give 120% of themselves to their clients and to their work. And so if we could peel off like 40% of that, I think we would get to a place that our lives would be much, much more manageable. So that's my mission. We have a special guest here today. And Heather, do you want to introduce our special guest?
I'm having issues with my microphone, Liz.
Okay.
Is that something that you can handle? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So we have had the pleasure of getting to know you throughout the last, I want to say we've been kind of in chats and conversations for probably a little over 6 months. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, so we've been kind of going back and forth. So, Pratish, did I say that right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay. So you are in this place of talking to accountants and bookkeepers, and you've been, really helping to navigate how to adopt what's working, what's not working. And so you've got a lot of background that comes in the space of technology, but also very heavily involved in AI.
That is correct. And I've been fortunate enough to be associated with this wonderful community who loves to learn all the time.
Don't we ever? So I think that especially the happy hour community. I feel like we're full of very technology forward individuals. And a lot of the people who join us are trailblazers in that area. And, we're always trying to wrap our head around what's out there. And that's, a big part of this conversation today.
Liz, is that better?
Yes, you
We
sound
can hear you.
great.
Oh, good. Okay. Sorry about that. I got a note from Michael that my audio was not working well, so I was trying to troubleshoot that. So thank you.
Sounds great now, loud and clear.
Good, good, good.
So we want to thank Accountero today for being our sponsor and walking us through the solution and helping us to understand better where to position it. Also, I want to say I went and grabbed my drink real quick and I had orange slice. So it's a very pretty drink. And quite a combination here. So I'm going to be drinking my drink and flipping through slides as we go. So the single layer is what we've got here. And I'm just going to go ahead and kick us off into this conversation. So you tell me whenever you want to start sharing slides or if you just want me to keep clicking through.
Let's stay with you for a moment so that,
Okay.
and once we reach the demo, I'll switch over to my screen.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Liz. And I also appreciate Heather. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here and appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with the two megastars of the industry. Even though we've been chatting only for 6 months, I've been following you guys for a while now, and I love the work that you guys do and how you really engage with this wonderful community. I also, because the conference season is starting off, and Heather mentioned it briefly, I want to give a special shout out to the Accounting Cornerstone Foundation and the great work that you guys do. I'm sure this is timely for what's coming with this whole season. So many people want to learn and know what's changing. So this is amazing. So I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to that. Anyone who does not know, I'm sure a lot of you know, but I learned about it as well. So I want the Accounting Cornerstone Foundation. So once again, thank you so much for the work you do.
Well, thank you so much for that. And it's a great organization. Just for those of you that aren't aware of what the Accounting Cornerstone Foundation does, I'm actually the vice president. So we actually send about 12 individuals to conferences throughout the year. So we send 3 individuals to 4 conferences that we pre-select. And we've been doing that now for 3 years. So this will be our 4th year. We're really excited. So thank you. And anybody who wants to donate to help send someone to their very first accounting conference can do that at accountingcornerstone.org. Thank you.
Or put in a application or to apply for the
Absolutely. Yes.
Is it true that the idea was sparked here at the APR?
Yep.
What?
At Appy Camp, we broke into groups and we said, what would we like to see in our community? And that was one of the ideas that took off and grew legs and has now been going strong since then.
Well, that's the power of conversations, I guess.
That's right. Like-minded individuals making things happen.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's do a quick reset because I want to be mindful of time as well. So let me reset what we're here for today. One thing we are not going to do is try and convince you that AI is the future, because you already know that. And it's not about shiny tools or promising overnight transformations. So when I'm talking and why I'm talking about this, first of all, let me also mention that we've been in the industry working with this community for a decade, but we have always been behind the scenes. A lot of you know us as SaaS Direct. SaaS Direct is a data migrations leader. We work with Intuit and accounting firms. We help their clients move between systems. That's where our expertise in data, handling accounting data comes from. And Accountero is our product, which we built with all the learnings that we had from over the years working with accounting data, the community itself, because a lot of accountants have been involved in developing Accountero as the AI engine. So we built what they told us to build. So that's why we are talking about all this here. Now, one thing to be very sure about, like one thing we always hear, and this is going into the opening slide. Liz, if you can switch to the next one. It's about, it's not that AI isn't interesting. Everybody understands that. It's more about, there's a whole conversation around, I'm not sure where this fits. How does it create risks for me? Is there going to be disruption? Is there going to be more work for my team? And that hesitation is completely irrational. So what we are trying to do today on this session is just try and understand how can we build a practical framework and how some of the firms are actually adopting AI. And that does not replace anything, like does not work on it's not about the head count or judgment. It's more about how to slow your day down with technology and AI.
I think that that's important for that framing of the conversation too. It's like we understand AI is here, but how do we actually make it manageable and useful?
Yep. Absolutely. And at the end of this, I don't really want you to walk away saying, oh, we all need AI. That's not the intent. What we just need to know is where AI works, where it does not help. How can I adopt this without breaking anything, especially the things that really work, right? That's the lens we are looking at. And I want you to be confident. That's all. Sorry.
I love how you just said that it's allowing us to slow down. I think that's a very profound way to look at it, because that's exactly how it should be looked at, is that you're letting the technology do the stuff that you've been running trying to finish so that you can actually have the conversations, right? So, but I've never
Yep.
heard anybody put it quite that way. So I really like that.
Oh, great. Thank you. We are all on the same page. So let's move on to the next slide then. So I'm going to quickly frame everything so that we can move into the demo. I know everyone's excited to see what this all means. So one of the things, even before we begin talking about tools, a lot of the firms are struggling, not because they lack talent or they don't care. Heather mentioned this. All of us put 120%. I'm sorry. All of the accountants and bookkeepers put 120%. I will not say us. I'm not an accountant, so that's wrong of me to appropriate. So, and everyone's struggling, not because of the lack of talent or care. It's mostly because of the pace of work has outgrown, and the structures that were built to deliver the services, it's failing to catch up. And one of the true challenges that has really hurt this industry is the staffing side as well. I think there was a study by the National Management, the MAP survey, right? The National Management of an Accounting Practice, the MAP survey. And it keeps talking about how the share of departures have been driven by career changes or retirement, and there are not more young talent jumping on. But there are opportunities showing up how AI could help fix that gap, not to fix the junior gap, but to bring people up to speed and make the onboarding process much quicker. And there are ways to do that with AI. So that's where we are going to move on. Go ahead, please. And before we move on, I think, yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Well, I think that you're exactly onto something. We've for years been having a hard time getting enough staff in the firms, and I've spent some time with some students, accounting students, and one of the things that the recruiters were talking about with these accounting students is, for the first time, we've got AI that's now in competition with these students. And so AI is now filling the gap of that need. So the more that we're leaning into it, the more that I think that it can help us with that bridge. But there's definitely a smart way to do it.
Yep, 100%. I don't know. There was this interesting YouTube video I saw just the other day. Again, I may not be on track with exactly all the talk tracks and all that, but it's something you said triggered something I saw. It seems there's a huge problem where companies believe that AI is going to replace the junior people or the new people. That is causing so much problem, because what's happening is they're not investing in training then, because they're assuming that, oh yeah, you know what, AI is going to take care of it. But what everyone's forgetting is the juniors are the ones who become the seniors. And if you
Mhm.
have not given them the training wheels today, how are they going to perform tomorrow? So it's very short-sighted to look at it as a staffing issue at this point, or throwing numbers issue in labor terms. It's much more, you have to think through this for a long term.
You know what that makes me think of is years ago, whenever we started with bank feeds, and a new team member would come on, we wouldn't give them bank feeds because we wanted them to manually go through the pain of adding them. And then we would be like, okay, now here's the magic, and it will help you, code all the transactions so quickly. And they're like, why didn't you show us this in the beginning? And it was because we wanted to train them on what the work actually was without just giving them a tool to automate and not thinking through what was the activities that they were actually doing and what the outcome was.
Makes sense.
Right, because they still need to be able to identify when something doesn't look right.
Yep.
And if they're just relying on the technology alone, they're not gaining that expertise, which is just incredible. It's so important. It's how we really internalize things and become the problem solvers that accountants need to be, is by, finding errors, making errors, and then having to fix them. So I think that is something that they need to understand, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how the technology and how the universities and the colleges are really going to get these students ready for working in a world of AI while retaining those critical thinking skills.
100%. 100%. And we will keep hearing this throughout this conversation. It's that what we as a company are trying to do is not to replace AI with judgment. Judgment has to be the human in the middle. So that's how we build our products, and that's how what we strongly believe in the company, within the company. If you move to the next slide, I'll talk about the 4 hidden costs. And what this actually means is, when a firm says we are slammed, it's not because one thing went wrong, during a certain season. It's because there are these hidden tax that is draining the capacity all day long. And a lot of times it does not show up on your balance sheets and your P&L statements because these are hidden costs. And it's never a big failure or a big breakup of things, but it will show up as exhaustion. And think of you as the accountant trying to get through your tax season, trying to get through your through the year, and then there's a lot of rework happening. You always wanted to do that advisory that is important to you, but it gets postponed, or you wanted to start that, never started because of interruptions, or and it's just that these are silent killers, if you can call it. And research says that if you are interrupted, it takes about 20 minutes to fully refocus back into that whatever task you were doing. But if you think about it, that's not technically questioning your productivity. It's the design itself is flawed. And a lot of accountants are trying to juggle a lot of things at the same time, especially like if you have a team member who's coming to ask you certain questions because they're stuck or they need help. That's a micro interruption. Valuable, but it is still an interruption. If you were working on something, you get a call, you have an email, there's a client reaching out to you, you need to respond. All of this adds up. And it really is about the friction and the lack of control over this that causes you to feel exhaustion at the end of the day. And if we see this through the lens of AI, we can really see that there are elements within AI that can help, not for automation's sake, not automation for automation's sake, but how can we use AI to reduce this tiresome exhaustion, the micro interruptions? How do I empower my team so they can make the decisions without me being interrupted all the time? So these are the 4 costs. And again, I will share, I think at the end of it, if there is a deck we can share, Liz, Heather, that would be out, something they can have. So if you move on to the next one, it talks about, again, something that's a conversation about AI won't replace accountants. And we keep hearing this all the time. It's at this point, it's become like a phrase, but it's true, because you cannot replace judgment. You cannot replace experience. You cannot ever replace relationships. And we know that AI has been trying to get into relationships with people, and I don't think it's working well. But I don't think that human relationships can be replaced. So if you the way you think about this is, okay, what stops, or why do we feel that there is AI is everywhere, but why would anyone hesitate if it's the next big thing? Like, why would an accountant be worried?
I think this idea of how do we get there? And y'all can throw this in chat, like, what you're thinking. But I think about it as, the next big app. Which app do I choose? How do I use it? Who's a good fit? Where does it fit? And so I think of, automation. It's like, okay, I want to automate, but where do I automate? I think of AI as being the next of those in that sequence. So it's, which solutions, which activities, and how do I get there? So to me, it's this natural progression, but many of us struggle with that automation piece. And so this is, with AI, oftentimes you can have a conversation with AI and say, what should I automate, or what should I integrate AI into? And it can give you some feedback to help you with where to integrate. But I guess that's my answer.
Okay, all right. So let's see if we match up to the next slide and see if that's a common theme that we are seeing. And this is a conversation we are having. The uncertainty piece is what you talked about, and we don't. There are so many out there, and then we don't know if it's the right thing for us. Then you have the fear of making errors, which is, I think, the nightmare for most accountants, and also the worry that it will disrupt your workflow. And if AI is that right now, that kid out there, making all the noise, so
I like that you did that.
like, and everybody's worried about it, and also a lot of fear. I think we can step aside and say, okay, the fear of losing a job is less, as opposed to will it really do so much for us, and how will it really help us? And because we also keep hearing that AI is making us do more work, the output of the work is more work for us. So how do we respond to that? So here is let's move out from fears, adoption worries, and hesitation, and let's move to something positive, right? Let's try and understand where as a company any one of us is. Now, do you guys see yourself in any of these stages?
I definitely, in the last slide. Okay, so level 1, awareness. Yes. Experimentation, always. Operational AI, fascinating, and yes, please. And then proactive AI. So, I mean, I can definitely see myself in all 4 of these.
Okay, well, fair enough. And actually, a lot of the companies today are in 1 and 2. So if you're already in 3, that's a great plus. And 4 is a really matured space where companies, and we know that some of the matured space isn't even matured yet. Guys like EY, Deloitte have been doing their own AI engines, and they've been running some of this. At the end of this, the goal is not to be there at level 4. That's not the goal. The goal is, how do we have, say, level 2 or 3 with the least friction? That's the most practical approach. It's not a competition to have the most AI. The idea is, how do I use it? That makes sense to me.
I love this because level 3, whenever I think about this in our firm, what we want is to be able to have those little pop-up bubbles that says, here's what you should be working on today. Here's what you should be focused on today. And so that would help our team and each of their roles to be able to get to their desk. Like you were talking about the removal of this disruptions. If we knew what work was ready to work on, if we knew activities were ready to be done, that's where I think level 3 comes into play for us. And then level 4 is, now that's the client conversations. These are the insights that I can give to my clients. So that's the way that I think about these 4 levels. Am I on track with what you're thinking here?
Yep, absolutely. And everybody would arrive at their own level based upon what is really required within the firm. I did happen to see a chat question or a comment from William, and I would love to answer that maybe a little bit later, because I think a lot of that will be answered as we go through it. And I appreciate the fact that he understood that we are a layer on layer. So even before the demo, so that's really awesome.
Yes, Murph.
All right. So
That's
moving to
funny.
the next one is guardrails. So how do we actually see this? And this is the three 11 moments. Like, how do I adopt with confidence? So the first is the relevance itself. Like, this is where the friction is the most obvious. Is there a workflow within the company? Is there a process that is causing the most friction for you? Is it a high volume area that needs attention, but it is also not the easiest to deal with? And for you, each one of you, it would be a different problem. It would be a different area. It could be it it's very personal to your business, but you will start seeing patterns. It is actually something that once you start talking to everyone, you realize that's much more common. And then you have the worry about black boxes, right? So when you throw something into a chat GPT or you throw into a similar chat engine, you don't know where and what's happening. You don't know how the AI reached that conclusion. That's where this whole hallucination concerns had come up
Mhm.
a long time back, and we're still having those conversations. It's improving, but there's always been this worry, like, I don't see, where's this, I don't know what's happening, right? So the sense of loss of control. And finally, which is like a golden rule, is who gets to decide, who holds that last final piece of judgment, right? Am I in the loop, or AI going to do everything? I think you probably are aware of agents that can now book tickets for you on your behalf, find the flights because you told it to, and it can just go ahead and do it for you. Now that's really amazing. I constantly worry about where else it will start using the card without asking me, and if it decides that I should fly first class and I should, without asking me, and then book me at the costliest and the most expensive concierge because I deserve it, because my agent thinks so. So I always
Don't
think
we
about
all?
all those things.
I think about even in the different levels that you were talking about before, I feel like this is relevant in each of the various different levels. So, the oversight, I feel like that's super important in that advisory work. So, where we're headed to have those client conversations, we don't want to just send out, summaries of what the data is telling us. We want to have that human interaction with the decisions of what kind of conversations are going to the clients.
Yep. So if you move on to what are those entry points that you could look for, and this is based upon what we are seeing in our conversations with accounting firms and the challenges that they face. And for the ease of understanding, I sort of broke it down to three easily understandable ROI. Where can I get my immediate returns with AI? The best, because we are all used to a chat interface at this point. Almost everyone every day is using the chat interface in some form or fashion. And we are all interacting with smart agents. People are talking to Gemini and having this huge philosophical discussions. Agents are talking to each other. So we all understand chat. One of the fastest entry and to figure this out is if you had a trained agent that understood your business, understands your industry, and is standards aware, then it is a great place to test out how can I reduce the cost of interruption. So when people are like flooding my inbox, or it takes time away from my work, my billable work, to non-billable support, is there a way I can offload that to a smart agent? That's a great entry point from where we see, and we call this, everybody calls it conversational AI, but what we mean by that is we take it one step further and call it conversational reporting. And that's the first demo I'll show you about what we built. The second area is we all know that machine learning has always been great at surfacing patterns.
Mhm.
AI is built upon machine learning, so AI is a little bit more intelligent. Uh,
Which is
and
why I think it works so well with accounting, is being
yeah,
able to surface those trends.
absolutely. And that's why AI powered insights or surfacing those insights, not reporting. It's slightly different, that it's nuanced on that. And you will see that. And what we call it is the blank page syndrome. A lot of us who want to start working on something, it's so much tougher if you're looking at a blank page. And if you had something to begin with, that makes it so much easier. Suddenly the ideas flow, right? So that's what the second aspect of AI, where it could help you get over that syndrome. And the third is something that looks for anomalies and flags issues even before you know it's happening. A lot of times, something as simple as a sync connection, disconnect with one of your apps, and you had no idea as you're working, and then nothing's like, by the time you get to it, it's already like you have lost out on, say, weeks of data. So if you had the AI monitoring you continuously, not you, but monitoring the data and the data flow continuously, and it could flag and say things, hey, this is going wrong, that would really make life easier for so many who's doing reconciliations regularly.
You know, one of the things that you said, and I just want to circle back to it, whenever you were talking about the instant answers, you were saying in a closed, I don't know if you said loop or environment, but you know, we were talking about hallucinations on the last slide, that the hallucinations come in because there's data coming from all over the place. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that you had mentioned in that instant answers is there's less information from it to pull from, is what I was hearing. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
If you can control that and stay
Mm.
within um, if you can call it an intelligent fencing, then it makes it so much easier. And that is how we decided to build our products. With Accountero, the way we decided to do this has been, okay, we build our own data center, we built the infrastructure, we built, we went out to the the toughest part was not building the technology, but really sourcing the chips. The chips are crazy difficult to get in the market today. The NVIDIA pretty much runs the show, and getting those chips has been so tough. We had to go all across the US to build the whole infrastructure in California. It's in the Silicon Valley. And we've been really making this from scratch, so that the level of confidence that accountants can have is, okay, my data is not being thrown out into the wild west, though we are in the west, but it's not as wild as you would think. We have controlled it, we have kept it within our servers, it's all secure, and it has crazy amounts of
Intelligent.
access,
So
permissions and
intelligent
restrictions.
fencing, is that what you're calling?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. And is
I
that
made that
an
up, by the way.
industry term, or is
No,
that
I made that up.
okay? All right. Well, I'm using it.
Yes,
I want to say
all
what you
yours.
said. Intelligent fencing. I like it. I understand it.
Okay, so I think we should quickly jump into the first one, and that was the conversational AI demo. And what I would like to do then is probably start sharing my screen.
Okay, I will stop sharing, and then you let me know if you've got all the permissions to be able to start sharing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Should be able to see my screen at this point.
It looks like it's loading. Oh, there we go.
Perfect. Okay. So, as I mentioned, Accountero is a platform. It is it's a layer that sits on top of your general ledger and other application stack. It goes back to a comment that Murph made, and it was about, why do you need a layer on a layer? Or why? Because almost every other product today seems to have an AI agent. Well, the thing is, the way we envision this is your platform to hire agents to do your work. And that's how we build Accountero. So Accountero actually can do not just one task. It has different agents trained to do specific tasks, and they have the ability to talk to each other. They also have the ability to go and talk to other agents and bring back data that makes most sense to you. So if you think about it, Accountero's layer is like an orchestration layer, and it does this whole beautiful symphony of agents. Now, I'm logging in as imagine this as what you would give your customer. So it's your end client and
Okay, or end users.
the end users, right? So this is basically what you're doing here, that Luke is your customer. Luke has connected his QuickBooks to Accountero. And what that allows Luke to do is to have a conversation about his books with Amy. Amy happens to be the person who helps him deal with his questions on a day-to-day basis. Amy is trained to understand QuickBooks. She understands most popular general ledgers and application stacks that work with QuickBooks. She is also standards aware. So, she understands GAAP. She understands that, questions that you're asking. So let me quickly ask something here. And now I'm going to start with something simple. Again, it is not meant to replace QBO. It is not meant to replace the QBO's agents. It is not meant to replace reports. It is supposed to fix the gap between every time they have to reach out to you or they have to log into QBO to find information. It's solving that gap. It's basically giving them the option to have a conversation with an assistant who's there 24/7 on standby. They do not have to work to your working hours, because a lot of the business owners, and I'll tell you the use case here we have seen is we have franchise owners using this. Franchise owners who do their own books. When I say books, bookkeeping. And they have access to an accountant, but they believe they can do the books well, but they need a lot of help. They need a lot of hand-holding. So they tend to use this on the side along with this, something as simple as, hey, how do I upload my logo to QuickBooks? Is my client paying on time? They don't have to go into QBO to do a lot of the basic questions, or if they are also working within QBO, they do ask questions and they get help. They don't have to keep going back to the accountant asking those questions. Okay, let me ask. Something as.
And so while that's thinking, would the scenario be that your client would log in directly to their account here, or would they come to an accountant's website or a portal, or how do they get access to this?
So there are multiple ways of doing this. One, as you can see, can be white labeled, and this is like a very basic white label. It can literally be white labeled to your brand colors and everything, the look and feel, all of it. However, there are other ways of doing it. You can actually have an embedded link. So it's like a magic link. So
Okay.
you can embed that link. Say you're using, an existing platform. I know a lot of companies use, say, Financial Sense or maybe Keeper. You can actually put the link, the embed link right in there. All they need to do is click on it and launch the chat.
Okay.
So you don't need to really have them log in to, come, like having to have a separate login to come in here, but they could, because there are benefits of that as well. It actually does show you the calculations on how it arrived, and it even gives you some basic information. If you think about it, a lot of the business owners who asks a lot of these questions, they are really not looking to understand financial statements. They're looking to just ask operational questions.
Right.
So
and I think that we miss that whenever we're talking to our clients. We have this great interpretation of what it is that they're thinking, and they're like, no, we have some ABC questions. We don't want to know Z.
Yeah. And those are the micro interruptions that we were talking about, because that's taking 20 minutes of your time on a per question basis. And what we have seen, like I just asked, like, are my clients paying on time? Right. And it's giving you a breakdown. It's telling you what's overdue. So it's really giving you the answer that you're looking for.
Right.
And they didn't have to run a report for this, or they didn't have to go 10 tabs, and they didn't have to come to you, right? If they do need help, they can always come to you. but at the same time, it is not required for them that they have to go through this whole thing. So it really takes away a lot of your non-billable support cost that would have been you doing this response. Like you would be trying to give them answers, and it takes away that. However, they cannot replace the report and value you bring. So this is a great entry point for AI.
I feel like what we're seeing is more and more people are starting to be comfortable with asking AI questions. So querying the data, random types of things that they're asking. So, I feel like this is definitely in the direction that we're headed, to allow clients to ask these kinds of tidbits of information, not necessarily the same type of advice that we would give them, or conversations that we would have, but simple things that they would ask.
Yep. Talking about conversations, that's the next agent, because that brings you up to the conversations piece. I was just, whenever I'm with Amy, I keep trying to push her and try and get if I can get her to break. So yeah, in this case, she went out and did a comparison. She brought in all the data. And she got all the break detailed expenses, and your expenses and revenue both increased. Blah, 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 and what happened, how it was. So it's still in a chat phase, it's in a conversational mode, and you're able to do that. Now, talking about conversations, this is where you're bringing the higher billing, right? When you can have advisory, how do I actually do advisory? And this is a challenge that we keep seeing. Like I have been to so many of these sessions and webinars and conferences, and a lot of speakers do talk about this, that value pricing and advisory is so important. But at the end of it, how do I even begin is a challenge that a lot of accountants have to face. Like, yes, I would love to, but I am the only person who can do it. How do I bring my team up to speed? How do I empower my other members who have all the experience in the world, but how do I bring them to the table on advisory, right? So let me switch to an accountant's login.
So you're saying the way that we interact with the conversation, the technology changes based on the type of user that we are.
Yes. So typically the way we foresee this is, and it is quite easily possible for you to use Amy as an internal tool as well. One of the challenges that we spoke about earlier on was when you hire a new person, it takes about, say, 3 months to 6 months to get them up to speed, all the onboarding time, that is the learning curve that they have to overcome. Imagine if they had a ready assistant who's trained on your company's processes, understands gap, and can respond to questions that it can be trained on your SOPs. So what happens then is when that new person joins and they are being trained by you, but there will be moments when you're not available. You're traveling, you're probably on vacation, probably you have other conferences that you have to attend, and you're busy with work. They can actually have the assistant respond. And they can ask, like, I'm stuck here, what do I do? It can actually give you that response. So then the learning curve can be compressed. So that's another way of how a firm can use. In fact, there is an accounting firm who's using this for exact. That's the reason I'm able to talk about it. We did not see that coming. We thought this was more of a customer-facing thing, but an accounting firm told us they are tired looking for answers on SharePoint or Google Drive. Like they really don't know what to respond, or when they get stuck, they have to read through material, and it's really tough. So Amy can help. So that's another way of looking at it.
Okay, and so you're saying that it can connect to different data sources, and then we can query the different data sources right here.
That's right.
And so this goes back to that intelligent fencing.
Yes, it does. And also it goes back to the fact, because our agent, so Amy, and the behind the scenes, there's this whole stuff, the framework that's built upon it and the way it connects into other, there's a lot of MCP connections and so on. But these are agents. So our agents are able to talk to all the other agents out there. If the agents don't exist, they can talk to the APIs out there and then bring that information, have and make sense of that confirmation, all that data. So for example, if you had a client on Shopify and you had a client that client used QBO and then you had a different POS system, you could actually have all three data sources queried with the agent. This is something that's missing today. If you think about it, all the query that happens is within the product. It is not a meshed query. You're not asking a question across the tech stack.
I think that has been our struggle in the profession for years. So there's too much data in too many different systems, and being able to do true advisory means that you need to be able to intelligently collect all that information and then analyze it and then come up with something that your client can relate to. So I think that's why we've struggled with advisory.
Yep. And I think what I could try and show you here is the second teammate that you could hire. So one was Amy, the other one is Paige. We've seen that, women are much more intelligent at this stuff. And we appreciate that. So all our agents are also all our agents have AI in their names. So, all right. So out of the box, we do have a number of analysis that we could run, but this is something that's evolving. So it will constantly keep upgrading, and you have other ways of looking at it. So for example, you could do a quick balance sheet check. And while that's running, and let it run, while that's running, I'll show you some of the stuff that I ran earlier in the day. So it takes about 60 to 70 seconds for it to generate. It can be white labeled, and I'll show you how it looks. So this is where you can edit the entire, it's a WYSIWYG editor, but I'll show you the actual. So what it does is it'll white label to you. It'll give you the whatever report or analysis that you ran. It'll show you the period that it did the run on. In this case, also one of the things to remember, it's not randomly picking dates. It's also what's available in this demo data. That's what's available, but it does the last 6 months, or you can change that. It gives you all of this was built by itself. Like it analyzed the QBO data and it came up with this information. It identified these sections and the growth opportunities. It came up with the short-term recommendations, the long-term strategies, and it created a nice little simple document. Now, what I was showing you earlier was you can actually edit this within the tool, within the platform. So what that means is if you want to add nuances, or if you feel recommendations, or these are too generic, I want to add a little bit more, this is what I was talking about. How do I overcome the blank page? You already have information to go, you can build upon this. So we have accounting firms or bookkeepers actually who have not been offering any kind of advisory. They would usually do the bookkeeping work and there's an accountant involved, but they are now able to actually offer a little bit more of value addition by offering this kind of a document, which makes it much more professional. It's white labeled to them. It makes them come across as a modern bookkeeping firm, and they are able to have conversations around these topics, because you can also deep dive based on what the conclusions or what the recommendations are surfacing. So this is how we feel it's so much easier, or it's possible to build out that whole conversation piece around advisory.
And you're saying that you can pull in, because we have this with QuickBooks, we have some things that we can see, but what we don't have is the ability to aggregate all of the various different data. So in these examples of what you're showing us, this is aggregated data, not just from one source.
This demo is QBO at this point, but we have
Okay.
tested with Katana plus QBO plus Stripe. So, we've tested those. That comes out the same way. And in the real product that we are releasing now in the next couple of weeks, we'll have mesh data in it as well. So the analysis will be on mesh data.
Ah, that's what we need. I mean, that makes me say, fresh air. Yes, please. It's hard. Because what we're doing right now is we pull it all into Excel and we try to calculate it ourselves, but you can only understand your own Excel sheets.
Yep, absolutely. And we get that. And this is one of the problems that we've been constantly hearing about. And that is that you have so many applications and so many data silos. How do we make sense of all of that? And
Yes.
spreadsheet has been the savior for so many businesses, but we feel there's a better way to do it.
Mhm.
Okay. Being cognizant of time, I think it's taking a bit longer for the balance sheet health check. It does a thorough analysis. While that's happening, we have only 10 minutes. We can come back to this, but I just wanted to wrap up at the same time.
Let's go ahead and do a poll, I think. I'm going to go ahead and do a poll. Is that okay, Liz?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. And it's just a quick question. Are you offering advisory in your firm? And there's a couple of options. And we'll leave this up for just about a minute or until everybody votes, and then we'll share it out so you guys can see the results.
And I would say most people want to, it's just getting there. And even if you are, it's like sometimes it's those siloed bits of information. It's not even everything.
And like you said, Liz, it's having the data in the right format and knowing that it's clean and that you can rely on it. That's the huge challenge, right?
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah. So, all right, we have about
Did
10 seconds left. So if you haven't voted, I'll count you down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's exactly what everybody said, Liz, is 30% are doing it and they're profitable. Yay. And then 60% is we'd like to, but we're finding it challenging to gather the data quickly to provide guidance. And 10% is our firm is operating at full capacity to deliver the services we currently provide. So really good information.
very relatable.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And then we have one more poll. If it's all right, I'll go ahead and launch that as well. That one is, would you like to learn more about Accountero? So we can have Prathis and his team reach out to you guys. This has been fantastic. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
To learn where we're headed and what's actually useful to us and to have those conversations, that helps us to be able to adopt the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And what I would like to conclude with is a little bit of a sanity check. And Liz, I would need your help on showing up those slides again.
Oh, sure. I thought you were going to say you needed my help with the sanity check, and I was like, uh-oh.
And I'm going to just tell people we have 5 seconds left on the poll, so if you haven't voted, please do so. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to go ahead and close that down. Thank you, everyone.
Should I skip through some of these?
Yeah, because we will talk about this later. I don't need to work on that. I just want to make sure I give value back on this conversation. So if you could go 2 slides back or 3 slides,
2 slides back.
Yeah, to the one more.
One more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to make sure you understand, like, it's all great. I showed you a demo and all, but I still want to go back to the value we are talking about. I want to make sure that you guys are understanding that, okay, what is my smoke test on how do I go about buying something, or what are the things I need to keep in mind when I'm evaluating an AI tool? You need to ask a few questions. Where is the data being handled? What kind of security, what kind of controls you have? Who owns the data? What mechanisms are there to prevent data? Is it a black box? Will it fit, or do I have to really redo everything? Like I have a set standard of workflow. This is how I do my stuff. Is there a way that it doesn't break it, right? And how much time does it take? Is there a training required? You don't want to, like, let's say this, if they say that the implementation is easy and then they give you a 40-page onboarding document, then I think you know the answer. So, that's where we are.
Absolutely. Needs to be easy.
In fact, what I just remembered is I do have a checklist, kind of a document that I would love to send it over to you guys. Maybe you can share it with the attendees, later on. But that also has a sort of a checklist that allows you to decide like what are the things I need to keep in mind. And if you scroll to the next one, this is basically a simple plan for the next 30 days. The way I always say this is you pick one high frequency task, anything that really is taking time. And this goes back to what I mentioned before. There is friction in your business. Figure what piece is that, or what part of that workflow is high friction. Um, set some measurement up, like what are my measurements going to be? Do this before you begin anything, because if you don't set up your goals, like, okay, this is how I'm going to measure it. So say I'm getting, I will use it from the lens of what we see with Amy. So let's say that I have to deal with 4 hours of support on a weekly basis, right? I spend 4 hours of non-billable support on non-billable support on a weekly basis. And if I'm using something like someone like Amy, does that reduce to an hour, or does it just go away? If that's a great way to measure. And similarly, you need to understand if there's an oversight, who maintains the oversight. There has to be a cheerleader within the company. There has to be someone who approves everything, and you do not throw it across to the client without someone having reviewed it. And then you look at how the client uses. Even if you're using ChatGPT, have some standards in place within the company. What data can I throw into ChatGPT? Can I ask these questions? Am I okay with throwing financial statements on there? You still need to have an SOP. Again, I do have a checklist I'll share with all of you later, through Liz and Heather. I guess that's pretty much it. I still want to give some time for conversations.
Do you want me to share this here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, so for everyone who is listening today, this is a special code and it's designed to help you get started. I'll go ahead and stop there and you can share what all is in the subscription.
Sure. So Amy and Paige, they are separate teammates that you can bring on board. You can also bring both of them together. It doesn't matter. You will still get a 30-day subscription free. It's about the list price on it is $79 a month, and we don't charge you per client. We do not charge you per user. So it's purely based on consumption. So the number of questions that you consume, it resets every month. The number of analysis that you run, it resets every month. So you are always in control of how much you're using. It's purely based on consumption. And this is good for 30 days, and it's absolutely free. So close to $160 in value on the bundle, and it's free for anyone with Happy Hour.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And I think that that makes the entry into trying very low. That means that you just need to spend some time getting acclimated and just, like you were talking about a minute ago, get started, try it, ask a few questions, poke around. You're in that intelligent fencing. So it's just the data that you're working with, that you're looking at. And, you can silo to just your firm or just that client. So lots of controls there. So I appreciate very much you walking us through today.
Yes,
showing
absolutely.
us what's coming.
Yep. Oh, sorry. You can go to accountero.com to actually buy it, because I forgot to mention where you can get the coupon.
Accountero, everyone. Heather, you want to share our lineup for what's next?
Yes. So we have some exciting stuff happening in the next 6 weeks. So just in 2 weeks from today, we're going to be having a conversation on how is AI impacting newly degreed accountants. So we're going to be having some accounting students and educators in the space talking about how are they approaching AI in the classroom, and what are they seeing as they prepare to enter the workforce. Then on March 10th, we're going to be talking to 2 accounting firms who are pressure testing AI. So these are firms that are implementing AI within their practice, and they're going to be sharing how it's going. So we're really excited to having them be joining us. And they are also people that you know and love. So you will definitely not regret showing up on the 10th. It's going to be a great episode. And then on March 24th, we're going to have the Accounting AI Showcase with an app that you probably haven't heard of yet called Appventory, which is very unique in its space. Really helps you to vet apps. So pretty exciting stuff coming up.
Very much
Awesome.
so. So lots of things in the AI space. I think that that's what we just keep hearing right now. So Heather and I are investing a lot into what's new out there. How is it impacting the students? How is it impacting firms? And what all have you maybe not heard that might be useful? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Pratish, thank you so much for your expertise today and walking us through Accountero. It's been very insightful.
That's been
Thank you so
wonderful. Thank you
much
so
for having
much.
me. Thank you for having me.
And thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.